we've already looked at multiplying out double brackets, and when you multiply out double brackets, what you normally end up with is a trinomial. You have three terms in it, tri standing for three, for example triangle, trident, triple, and so on. So when you multiply out double brackets, you usually end up with an x squared term, an x term in the middle, and a number value right at the end. But this is a special case we're going to look at, called the difference of two squares. Now when you multiply out these brackets here, this first one, x plus 2 multiplied by x minus 2, let's see what happens. So firstly you multiply x by x, you get x squared. Then you multiply x by negative 2, and you get subtract 2x. Then you multiply 2 by x, so that's a plus 2x. And then you multiply 2 by negative 2, and you get subtract 4. So when we simplify this line here, you end up with x squared. The subtract 2x and the plus 2x will cancel each other out, and you'll end up with the subtract 4. Okay, now let's look at the next example. X plus 3 multiplied by x minus 3. Again, x times x is x squared. X times minus 3 is subtract 3x. X times 3, the green, is 3x. And 3 times negative 3 is subtract 9. Again, you're left with x squared. Subtract 3x and the plus 3x will cancel each other out, and you've got to subtract 9. And finally, we've got this last one, x plus 8 multiplied by x minus 8. X squared for x times x. X times minus x is minus 8x. 8 times x here in the green is plus 8x, and 8 times negative 8 is negative 64, or take away 64. So again, the two middle values cancel each other out. We've got an x squared, and you're left with the subtract 64. Now we can see here that this happens in every case when you have the two x's at the front and the number of values exactly the same at the end. The other thing that makes this situation happen where you don't get the x's in the middle is having a positive value in the brackets and a negative value in the brackets, because that makes this middle situation happen. The subtract 3x and the plus 3x and they cancel out. The subtract 8x and the plus 8x and they cancel out. What we're going to look at here is how to factorise this. We're going to reverse this situation. These expressions here at the bottom are known as the difference of two squares. You have an x squared term, you have a square number at the end, and a subtract in the middle. Subtract meaning the difference between two things. So when you want to factorise this expression, something like x squared subtract 36, what we have to think about is the double bracket. We have to think about the x's at the front and what the numbers at the end are going to be. Every time you factorise a difference of two squares, you're always going to have a positive and a negative value in your brackets to make this middle bit happen. So let's look at some examples. Factorising x squared subtract 16, you need an x at the start, an x at the start. You need a subtract and a plus, and what times what makes 16 the same number? It's a 4 and a 4, and that's that factorised into double brackets. X squared subtract 100, you need to factorise this. X is at the start to make your x squared. You need a subtract and a plus. It doesn't really matter which way around these are, you can have the plus there and the minus there. And what multiplied by what makes 10? That makes 100, sorry, and that's 10. Or I suppose you could look at it as what's the square root of 100. Here we have the number first, which is 81, so we put the number first in the brackets. 9 times 9 makes 81. You want your x's at the end this time to make your x squared, and then your plus and your minus. Again, it doesn't matter which way around they are. On these slightly harder examples, we've got values in front of the x squared, and we have a value in front of the y squared here. So what times what makes 4? Well, 2. And what times what makes x squared? Well, x, so you get 2x times 2x, which give you your 4x squared. 5y times 5y will make your 25y squared. and you need your subtract and your plus. Notice these are exactly the same, the 2x and the 2x and the 5y and the 5y. This has to be the case. You couldn't have, for example, 4x and a 1x at the front. You really need to square root this number or see what value multiplied by itself makes this number. So again, in the second one in this row here, we've got 36. What times what makes 36? Well, it's 6. What times what makes 9m squared? Well, it's 3m and 3m. And then you need your plus and your minus. And the last one, what times what makes 1? Well, it's 1 times 1. What times what makes 49p squared? Well, that would be 7p. The 7 7s make the 49, and the p times p makes the p squared. And then your plus and minus.